I completely cut down on the negativity, where I stopped watching these news. Instead, I focused all the time, instead of watching news, I focused on meditation.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. Now let's start crossing it off together. Is there something holding you back from fully living a bucket list lifestyle and bringing yourself joy? Is it your confidence? Is it a relationship? Is it your health? As we've seen in other episodes, like the one I did with Mariana Cadore, where she healed herself of fibromyalgia, that was holding her back from living her best life. Well, today's bucket list storyteller is the same. He had something going on in his life that was emotionally and sometimes physically crippling, but he put it on his bucket list and said, I'm not going to let this hold me back anymore, and I'm going to do something about it. And he did just that. Let's listen and learn how, by putting this on his bucket list, he was able to move forward with the rest of his life and find more joy. Let's start crossing it off. My guest today is someone that's overcome a great pain in their lives, and he has done it very successfully, and I'm glad he's here to share it with you. Manohar Grandhi is with us today. Manohar, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Roger, for inviting me.
Yeah, so tell our listeners, what did you cross off your bucket list?
Yeah, so the thing that I crossed off my bucket list was overcoming insomnia.
Wow, that is, I struggle with that every once in a while for myself, so I'm glad that we're here having this conversation so that I can hopefully learn some things. So what was life like for you before you put it on your list and you were struggling with this, this thing going on in your life? What was life like at that point?
Okay, it's back in 2019, exactly 4 years ago. I was really struggling with insomnia. So what used to happen was, I used to put my kid to bed, and then my wife and I used to just start going to bed at 10:30 ish time frame. But then what used to happen is, my wife is always an instant sleeper, so it's just like a switch off, and she just goes to sleep. But for me, it takes some time. It's not that fast. But so what used to happen was, I was going on through some personal issues with my family, and also professional issues. And what happened was, I went into an obsession of reading books. So before going to bed, I started reading books, those self-help categories or whatever kind of thing. And I went into this obsession, and I continued reading books. And the problem which happened was, without completing the book, I couldn't go to sleep. So it was like, if I have something which is incomplete, my mind was always occupied on completing these things. And one day, what happened was, accidentally, I just was looking into a TED talk, and the TED talk talks about sleep, the importance of sleep. And basically, the instructor says that we humans are the only persons in this planet Earth who who change the time of sleep. So, for example, every creature on this planet follows the day and night cycle. See, for example, the birds, when it's nighttime, they roam around the day, do all those stuff. But when it's nighttime, they respect the nature, and then they go and hibernate and they sleep. But we humans, we completely changed the way, especially with light coming in. And the other thing is, with this technology boom, especially that internet boom in the last 2 decades, what has happened is, there's nothing like we need to stop at some time. We have everything in the push of a button. So, and he talks about this point, which is like, when we consciously cut down on sleep, we are actually losing a lot of things. Actually, our immune system goes for a toss, and a lot of things happen. So when I saw that, actually, I clearly was able to recognize that I myself am consciously cutting down on sleep by reading these books with obsession. Then I wanted to fix it, but I didn't know how do I fix it. Just by closing the book, it wasn't happening. And then desperation started kicking in. So I was very, very desperate that I want to fix my sleep. I want to fix my sleep. And things started going down the rabbit hole where everything which I tried to fix my sleep was going wrong. And like I went to a psychologist who had some classes of teaching me of how I should change my thing. But then that was also not helping me. Then I went to a psychiatrist, and he diagnosed that I was on anti-anxiety, and he gave me anti-anxiety pills. Yeah, that so it was a very terrifying phase of my life where I tried very hard to go to sleep, but sleep was not happening. And because of that, so many changes happened. Like I was losing hair, I had digestion issues, and all those
Oof.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you decided you'd had enough of this, right, and that you wanted to do something about it, did you tell family and friends? And what was their response? Were they supportive? Were they like, "Oh no, you just got to live with it," or "Man up"? Or what was the response from the people around you when you said, "Hey, I'm going to try to fix this"?
Yeah. My wife knew that, and she tried telling me to not think about a lot. But like the way it is when you live in a fear psychology where you want to fix that problem, so the brain completely disregards every other opinion, and it wants to only fix the problem. So that is the way it was happening. But other than that, because the place where I stay, I couldn't really open up to a lot of
Mm.
people saying that I have insomnia and I'm struggling with insomnia. So very few people knew, like my wife knows it and my sister knows it, knew that at that time. Yeah, that's what it happened.
And they were supportive of you trying to fix this.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife actually initially she got irritated because I was waking her up saying that I'm not able to feel go to sleep, and that is the thing. But then what happened was I went with my wife to the psychologist, and then he also guided my wife saying that these things need a lot of external support also. And then what happened was the biggest thing was he told me to start the practice of meditation, which is before going to, I mean, he just told me to meditate regularly whenever I get time, and stop searching the internet like YouTube or anything for
Yeah.
any fix kind of a thing. So basically what I was doing is I was searching for the next hack which will just put me into sleep, a kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
But that was
So I
also
was in,
keeping you up. That was
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
activity was not helping as much as you wanted it to.
yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. So that is the problem. So what he told me is to meditate. So my wife used to sit and meditate with me. So because it was not her cup of tea, because she never tried it and I never tried it, we were facing a lot of difficulty. But then uh, she just helped me to at least she what she used to tell me is go and meditate. Maybe I may not be meditating the whole time, but you should meditate. That is the timer she used to do, and those kinds of small things which she did, that actually changed a lot.
And so, how did your overall practice, was it just meditation, or were there lots of other things that you kind of incorporated into making this happen once you said, okay, I'm gonna overcome this insomnia. And so I know I need to do these things. What were those things that you did to kind of release yourself from the grip of that?
Yeah, so there are multiple things, Roger, which I did, but the biggest game changer for me was meditation. Hands down, it
Mm.
has to be meditation. So what I used to do initially is I started the practice of meditation, but I gave up very quickly because I was expecting instant result, but this time when I did it, I wasn't expecting instant result. And what I used to do is I used to just meditate for 3 minutes kind of a thing, 3 to 5 minutes kind of a time, guided meditations I used to take in, and then just do them and do them repeatedly. So once I was able to sit for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, then I slowly increased the guided meditations to 7 minutes, eight
Mm.
minutes, and slowly increase the frequency of these meditations also. And after maybe a 1 month or so, I was able to do like 15 minutes guided meditations. But all this period when I used to do these meditations, also my insomnia was not fixing itself. But then I persisted with this practice of meditation, and coupled with some other things. One big change which I did was, previously I used to have late night dinner, so it would be something around 8:30ish, 9ish time frame.
Oof.
So that was actually, when I used to do this, everyone was suggesting early dinner, so I just completely changed it to 7 p.m. in the night. So a little bit early dinner, and couple with some other things which I could clearly see is, I used to watch these debate shows about where people just talk about each other and they keep arguing about each other. So then you also agree that all the news will be mostly negative in nature.
Oh
So
yeah.
I completely cut down on the negativity, where I stopped watching these news. Instead, I focused all the time, instead of watching news, I focused on meditation. Though I sucked at it, but I kept doing these meditation practices instead of investing my time over there. And the other thing which really helped me was, I used to sit with my daughter and do this practice of mandala art. So there is an art form called mandala art. So I used to just sit with her, have some playtime kind of a thing, do these arts, and coupled with all these lifestyle changes, gradually things started going better. And yeah, so eventually I was able to completely not worry about sleeping at all.
So when you talk about guided meditation and meditation being a big part of you being able to overcome the insomnia, describe what that looked like. What was the guided meditation and where did you find it? Like, is there something specific about, doing guided meditation for sleep, or is it just a matter of that having the practice makes it better in itself?
Yeah. So the way I did was, so there's an app called Udemy. In Udemy, there's a course called Meditation by Greg DeVries. So I used to follow that. So there are guided meditations for 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, kind of a thing.
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your lists. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show.
So when I started, I completely used the course, those guided meditations. And what exactly happens in guided meditations is, the instructor just like we are having these conversations, they ask us to close our eyes and then keep focusing on the breath that goes in and the breath that comes out. So keep focusing on the breath, but our mind, as it is, it starts wandering to some other thought, whether about the thing that we want to complete next, or something which is incomplete, or all these kinds of things. So we have to just focus it back on the breath. So distractions happen, which is like quite normal. And when you persist with these practices, then things actually change a lot. So that is the thing which I followed.
So what was the biggest change for you personally? Like, once you started doing all these behavioral things and making these changes in your life so that you could have better sleep, what were some of the things that you noticed were different about yourself? Or maybe what are some of the things other people noticed about you that were like, oh, wow, this is different?
Okay. Yeah, the biggest change which I noticed is, when I was having this phase of insomnia, the mornings when I woke up, they were very irritated kind of a thing, wherein I, all I wanted was, all my mind and the focus was like whether I slept or not, and my energy levels were like very low kind of a thing. But when I slowly came over this thing, my mornings were like calm and neutral. It's not that the few days I do have a bad morning here and there, but
Sure.
when that's part of life also. And but when I was there, right, my mornings were very irritated. So, and those kinds of things. But then my morning started becoming normal. And after that, when I initially wanted to exercise or do anything kind of thing in the morning, when those phase, it was very tough for me. But now, slowly I was able to build these practices of exercise or whatever kind of thing, and they started becoming nothing to worry about. So
Mm.
the when I read this, when you have something to worry about, the brain actually goes in an overdrive mode, and then it tries to fix the problem. But then once I'm telling my brain that there is nothing to worry about, then my brain is in a relaxed mode, and that's the biggest change which I saw.
What about for you, like personally as a person, like your outlook on life? How did that change? You had these physical changes, right? That where you feel better, you have more energy, those kind of things. But what about the emotional changes? Was there transformational happening inside you that helped you, look at the world differently?
Yeah. So the changes in terms of emotional things, I feel like previously. I used to play a victim mindset, saying that if suppose someone says that, if my wife would have said, "But why haven't you done this?" So I would have given an excuse saying that I can't sleep, I can't focus. So that kind of a victim mindset I used to live in. But now I started understanding. Okay, if I have done something wrong, okay, so I now started focusing on, is there a way I can correct it, and slowly I started fixing my things. And coming to the overall thing, the biggest thing I would say is, from being a victim, I just stopped being a victim. That is the biggest change which I felt I changed.
That's awesome. I love that. You said it so perfectly. If someone came to you
Mhm,
and you were having lunch or whatever, and you're just having a general conversation with a friend or somebody and you were able to tell them your story,
mhm.
and they were impressed and they said, "Wow, I struggle with some of those same things." What would you say to them as like something you have to do? Like, what's one of the, besides just do it, right? We can all just say, just do it. Easy
Yeah.
slogan. What's something like concrete that you would say, okay, if you're going to attempt to overcome insomnia, you need to do X. What's the X?
Okay. So first thing, and first and foremost thing I would suggest is, you have to stop being desperate.
Mm,
The desperation never helps, because when you are desperate to fix your problem, it always is in a rebound kind of situation. And the second thing, for me, the biggest game changer was meditation. You could do any form of so meditation need not be the only way like which I described, which is to close your eyes and concentrate on guided voices. You could also do something like I talked about the mandala art, which is about a drawing form which relaxes your brain. So you should consciously put some time on some downtime kind of a thing wherein you relax without, preferably without technology. I know, like we human beings right now are in a technological explosion, and we have so much of technology. But if you have any downtime without technology, that actually helps a lot. Is one thing. And the last thing I would say is, any change, you have to persist. Without persistence, these things don't. So the change is like it don't happen overnight. So you have to persist with this, and once you persist, then changes happen.
How did
Is what
you
I would say.
how did you do that? How did you persist in those moments when you were just like, "Oh, I don't want to do this"? What were you telling yourself, or what were you saying to yourself to like get you to that persistence?
Okay. Yeah. So in this, actually, Roger, I remember seeing a movie with my daughter called Frozen 2. And what happens in that is, the protagonist called Anna, she has to save her sister. And she doesn't know how to save her sister and all those things. But then there's a beautiful dialogue which says that do the next right thing. So don't
Mm,
focus on uh, how should I do all these things and all everything. Just focus on doing the next right thing, which is like when everything is in a mess, focus on doing the next right thing, which is to be relaxed. So that is the only thing which that was the inspiration from that movie. And I just that was the aha moment kind of a thing, and I just did that.
that's awesome. I always use the how do you eat an elephant analogy, right? Like one bite at a time. You can't you can't just break up a leg and eat it. You gotta take your time and digest and then move on to the next piece. And so I think that advice is super awesome as far as do the next right thing. I think that's an awesome phrase. Manohar, what's the next thing that you want to cross off your bucket list?
Okay. The next thing on my bucket list is, Roger, I see like you mentioned, you have this problem, but I see so many people having this problem of insomnia. So I want to help people get over this insomnia without any sleeping pills. So that for that, actually, I have started sleep coaching, helping people uh, to overcome insomnia. So I want to at least help more than 10,000 people
There you go.
in my lifetime to overcome insomnia and live so I want them to also have that bucket list where they also cross it off. Yeah, that's
That's awesome. Can you tell us like a little bit of how you coach people? Maybe not, I don't want you to give away all your trade secrets so that people don't hire you,
that's
but but what how do you go about, what's the initial thing that you work with people on as far as helping them through this?
yeah. So, Roger, the first and foremost thing I help is I have noticed with people is in most of the cases people are desperate to fix their sleep.
Mm,
Okay, so I talk with them and then I explain them why desperation doesn't help. Okay, so I explain the mind with analogy of so if you there is a very famous thing called as Carl Jung said that what you resist persist. Okay, so I explained that with a story kind of a thing of how you when you resist something it persists. So from their life I explain them like what are they resisting. So
mm,
and then I make them come into acceptance with that. So see, like nobody's life is picture perfect. Everyone has their ups and downs kind of thing. But when you the problem is when people don't accept the things which are not they are not good in life, people just want to resist those things. So I break that pattern of resistance and then I teach them these patterns of mindfulness, meditation, and all those things. And the other thing which I feel, Roger, is many people have stories in the mind which they keep to themselves. So once you share your story out, there is a lot of burden that comes out. So that is the thing which I help, wherein help them to change their story. Is the other thing which I feel.
yeah, I always say that the most powerful thing that we have as humans is that we get to tell our own stories. And
Yeah,
sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be bad, but telling them is important. So, Manohar, thank you so much for being here. How can people get in contact with you or connect with you if they're
okay.
interested in bringing you on as someone to help them get through this?
Yeah. So there are two ways to contact me. One is my website, manohargrandhi.com. And the other way, like I mentioned about all these things which I mentioned in this podcast, I have already documented this in a book called My Sleepless Nights that's available on Amazon, both as an ebook and as a paperback. So you can read my book that's available on Amazon.
Awesome. Fantastic. I will put all that information in the show notes so that people can just click on it and get access you very easily. And I suggest if you're struggling with this out there, you probably should. Manhart, thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate you sharing your story and being vulnerable about it. And I wish you all the success in helping other people overcome this. I think that's awesome. And I wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you, Roger, for inviting me into this podcast. And I really had good time in talking about my bucket list and how I crossed it off.